You know, one of the things I was surprised about watching what happened with young people was the fact that so many young people actually put up with it. Now, of course, I'm not young, obviously, but and I might be deluded in my belief, but my sense is that when I was that age, 14 or 15, the people that I was associating with in this little town up in northern Alberta, I don't think we would have put up with the masks. Now, that might just be wrong, but young people did put up with the masks, and for a very long time, and you got sick of it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody put up with it, and that's what shocked me. I'm from the riding Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke, which is famous for being the most conservative riding in Canadian history. I would have thought it would have been an immediate no, but apparently not. And everybody just went along with it. That it was the new normal, apparently, and I wasn't okay with it. And I knew that there were some people who weren't okay with it in private, but none of them were willing to take the risk of, maybe getting arrested, or even, like, I would go shopping and I'd get the cops called almost every time just because I refused to wear a mask. And you get looked at differently when you're disobeying the rules as a young person.
Yeah. So why do you think you weren't willing to go along? And, well, let's do two things. Had you gotten any trouble in school previous to your political involvement?
No, I hadn't. I was actually an award-winning student. I received the Citizenship Award. I was previously homeschooled, went into the public board.
How old were you when you went into public school?
I was grade 7, so I guess I would have been 13.
Okay, so you were in the public school for a couple of years before the mandates came in and before you started raising trouble.
Yeah, so I went there in grade 7. I ended up, like, the mandates only started to come in right at the end of our grade 8 year. And we graduated, not in person. That wasn't allowed, but I received an award. I had a good reputation.
Why do you have a good reputation?
Just because I have morals and character, which is not something that should be lacking in an elementary school, but it is. And I mean, my dad was also a teacher, and he had a really good reputation. He actually got to teach me in a couple of my classes. And I graduated from that school, went into high school, and everything just changed.
Right. So you weren't a kid with a pattern of troublemaking behavior who used this political opportunity to, like, elevate himself in status. That wasn't the game.
Yeah, never.
Okay. So what do you think the mask mandates and the lockdowns over those couple of year period did to people who were essentially your age?
I think it had a terrible effect on my entire generation. I mean, you'd see the stats on the news about the suicide rates and the depression and anxiety or whatever, but you could actually see it in person as a student. You go to school and I had never seen anything like it. The morale was so low. I mean, I guess that people just didn't think it would have effect when you take young people, tell them they're not allowed to hang out, even on good terms, and it just puts kids on video games and porn and social media, and that becomes their life, and it's completely unhealthy.
Well, I was trying to think about how I would have reacted when I was, say, 15 or so. Man, I remember just my father grounded me one weekend when I was a teenager, around 15. And I still remember being at home Friday and Saturday night when I wanted to be out with my friends. Like, that burned itself into my memory. It's like, that's not really that much of a punishment, and I'm sure I deserved it, but it drove me crazy. And I thought, I just can't imagine what it would have been like to be, say, between 14 and 16 and locked up, essentially, wrapped in a mask, unable to communicate. It must have been extremely difficult on the dating side of things too, I imagine, for, of course, young people have sort of given up on that, favor pornography. So maybe that wasn't such a catastrophe, but.
Yeah, I know, like, young people, there stopped being relationships, whether it was dating or just basic friendship. It was all online. That becomes a very serious problem. And then whenever it did return to school, you couldn't see each other's faces. You had to stay socially distanced and all that. And I mean, it may seem like a small inconvenience, and to most people, they just allowed it. But when you understand what the greater plot is, and you're looking at it, I just wasn't able to tolerate it.
Yeah, I
had
don't
to do
think it
something.
was a small inconvenience at all. I think it was an absolute epidemic of tyrannical authoritarianism. as far as I'm concerned, good for you for standing up against it. Okay, so